follow-up to that, Rhonda, with the chamber, I know you guys have some programs that revolve around partnering the private sector with the schools. You have teachers embedded in some companies. Do you mind talking about that a little bit and things you all are doing?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Governor, for being here. The Chamber has a number of programs that we partner with in the business community. We have companies sitting around this table who've participated. One of those programs is Educators in the Workplace, where we take educators and we put them into different private sector businesses, and they are immersed in what types of jobs are in those businesses and then the skill sets that are needed in those positions. They can then go back and write a lesson plan that helps to develop the students the skill sets that they need that will make them become really good employees in the future. One of the other things that we did just this week is we had a terrific meeting with our partners, with Superintendent Thomas and Keith and the high school principals and some folks sitting out here in the audience, where we gave them an overview of the economic development process and how that works. And some of the things that we did were to identify businesses that are within those school districts, within those areas that the schools can then partner with, and that they can learn what companies are there, what the future looks like for jobs, and what skills are needed. And in doing so, if you look at the makeup of the economy of Knox County, manufacturing is still your largest sector in the economy. And so we desperately need to have the right set of skill sets for our workers, for our companies, if we're going to continue to grow.
And Dr. Wilson, I actually put you on the spot. I have two questions for you. Number one is, what challenges are you facing in expanding the CTE programs? And also, we have a number of folks here that are with Crown College, which is does some work with accreditation certification to your schools, as well as TCAT, Roane State, and Pellissippi State Community College. How are you all working with them so that they're, your programs align if the student wants to pursue the trades and get a certificate at a two-year school?
Sure, I'll start with that question if that's okay. So we actually have, I think, very productive relationships currently with, especially with our TCAT and with our Pellissippi State, and we've begun some of the conversations and connections with Crown College. Had a few student events that we've hosted over there, and have a career fair coming up very soon that I even know your office has played a role in a bit. That'll be happening. So we're definitely connected. A lot of what we look at in terms of alignment comes back into some of the work we do in certifications, quite honestly. So industry certifications are becoming a very important part of programming. I know, Governor Lee, you heard a little bit about that as you were going through. But when you look at kind of our more building and construction trades, electrical, plumbing programs that we're offering, we use a lot of the same curriculum and certifications through the NCCER that aligns to and equates to credit hours at those institutions when they take those transcripts over there. So that's a big part of, I think, how we are looking at curriculum and alignment. And then certainly we're looking for additional opportunities with TCAT also for dual enrollment in our automotive programs. We have already used them historically in our welding programs, cosmetology. So we do a lot of work through that, looking for expansion of that dual enrollment process, which also gets those kids really on the roster at TCAT earlier because those programs are in high demand. So that's an advantage to having those connections to your high school. As far as challenges go, I think, the thing about technical ed, and I've had to learn a lot in the last year and a half. I was not from that background, moving in from kind of traditional teacher and moving into that role through some other jobs that I've had. One of the things I think that's a big challenge that I see is that we're talking about fields. When you look at STEM, you look at IT, you look at areas like that. Even automotive can be an example where technology moves very quickly. And we have the challenge of ensuring that we have qualified teachers in the classroom that are staying current with industry and able to give kids that experience of what they're going to see and face when they move into that next level of education or into that next job. And so to kind of go back and echo what you were saying a minute ago, those industry and community partnerships that you can have that keep your teachers as fresh as possible or allow the influence of those folks into the classroom and into the curriculum that's being taught are super important to ensuring that the classrooms move closer to the pace of where industry is actually going to ask those kids to be. Industry certification certainly is a way to do that because it stays current and is updated. But you can't put a price on having somebody who's current and working and doing that work in the field being a part of that classroom and part of the instruction. So, we're certainly always looking for opportunities to expand those types of relationships and honestly to create opportunities for people from those industries to even take on maybe more formal roles. Licensure is a big challenge, let's say that, for our CTE teachers that come through occupational fields. Quite often a teacher, for example, that's qualified to teach welding at a TCAT has 18 hours of college credits they have to give to teach at a high school. That's a challenge for somebody who's moving career fields, taking a pay cut in pay, and then being asked to go back to school to teach at a high school level. So we face those sorts of challenges too that I think from a legislative standpoint, there could be some process to ease some of that to allow, again, the most current and fresh folks from the industry a channel to be active in the classroom.
Principal Berry, how did you do this? As we said, this is one of the best examples we have of a robust CTE program in Knox County. So how did this come about? How did you build this?
I did not build this. Mildred Newell had this vision back in 1967, so I give her a lot of credit. She had the vision for what was needed. College is not for everyone. There are multiple pathways to have success, and so I stepped in here 8 years ago, and it was well established. I wanted to branch out and make sure that we had the career pathways that met the needs of our kids. I mean, you look at it, it's the heartbeat of South Doyle High School. So when I see kids in robotics, that's what they wanted. So when we stepped back and said, what do you want? What do you want to be when you grow up? Kids started talking about coding. They started talking about mechatronics and cybersecurity and that kind of stuff that was kind of foreign to us when we came through school. We don't know, so we reach out there and try to find the people who do. So Mildred started this years ago. There are a lot of people under me that laid the foundation for it. I just embrace the change. Right now, we don't have everything we want. We want more, so I know it's a little greedy when there are other schools out there that they're trying to get this kind of program, this kind of foundation. But for us, until every need is met for every kid and every interest, we're not done.
And we have time for one more question. Does anybody at the round table have a question or comment that they would like to make? The governor's here, so it's a good opportunity. Yes, ma'am. There's a microphone though.
Being in the industry and construction industry, first of all, thank you, Governor, for being here and having this roundtable and allowing us to speak. I think one of the things is really changing the way we talk about the trades. And I think the whole perception of that's where we put the dummy kids into these classes really has got to change. We're looking for kids with high math skills. We're looking for kids who are analytical and problem solving, and that's not dumb. It takes a lot of energy and a lot of smarts to do the trades. And I watch our guys out there in the field on a regular basis, and I'm amazed at what they can build. And just like you said, we're a large company too. And so I think it's part of it is changing the perception where the kids feel pride in going into these CTE programs rather than, oh, we're sticking you there. And I think that's a big part of what we need to change.
Can do one more, don't you think?
Yes, sir. Governor says we can do one more.
Yeah, keep going. I
Yeah,
like
he likes it.
I'll do one. Any ideas in the works on how to attract the instructors? He was hitting on the pay. How do we attract those instructors? As just like she's saying, as the students, we need to attract those better instructors as well.
Well, I took notes after he started talking, because we do need to figure out a better way to do that. We need to make it easier for folks who want to engage, and we need to make it attractive for folks who want to engage. So that we don't have that solved. But it's a perfect question. That's why I wrote it down, and it's something we need to work on. And one of the ways I think we do that is, again, through partnerships. I mean, when I think about the willingness of industry to provide, I mean, many of us have probably functioned as a guest professor or a guest teacher for certain classes. I've taught, basic HVAC classes to university construction management courses, and I did that because for my industry, that's a good thing. I need folks to be educated in that. I think the more we can engage companies in this process and ask them to be a part of providing instructors. I realize we got to hire full-time instructors, but I think we address the challenges there, but we also engage at a greater level folks in the industry. I know in our own company, we started a trade school, and we have put 1,000 people through that program in 10 years. And we did it with employees who were willing to be instructors after hours. And then we worked with NCCER to develop curriculum, and we created a certified program. And, you know, there are folks that want to be a part of passing on to the next generation. I think we can tap into that with greater partnerships with industry. Maybe that does answer